Hi there, welcome to Rain Coast Diesel. I'm sitting here at the ferry terminal just waiting to get on my boat across to the mainland today, heading to Ritchie Brothers auctions in Chilliwack to get my first mini excavator, which I bought a couple weeks ago. So we're going to go get that today. We'll take the ferry across. It's a beautiful trip, especially at this time of year. So anyways, the excavator, I went and looked a couple weeks back at all the excavators. There was about 30 to choose from, mini ones that I was interested in. Ended up getting this one. It's a 27D 2011. It's only got 1,200 hours, which I really liked. And it looks pretty dirty. It's been sitting for a really long time, clearly somewhere. And but I think overall it's in good shape and I can fix it up, do all the maintenance needed, and have a good machine. Back when I was there a couple weeks ago, I did take some really quick videos on a few of the machines that I was interested in, just for myself, just notes for the auction. So I can show you that real quick. Those were my thoughts back when I viewed it. And when we get over to the Ritchie Brothers to pick this up, we can have another closer look, and I'll get her loaded up and head home. Okay, this 27D, it actually seems really nice, even though it looks like crap. It definitely needs new tracks. I could probably add a lot of value by painting it. Interior, the cab and stuff was fine. Everything seems to work except the thumb. I couldn't get the thumb to work. It used to be owned by Hasco, I noticed. Inside, everything looks okay. Oil is very black. But if it was owned by Hasco, it's probably taken care of. Air filter, quite dirty, very dirty. And I think the other thing was, yeah, there's in the tracks, so I don't know if those are supposed to be that pointy. There's a lot of mud and moss. It looks like this machine was sitting for a long time. No other signs of leaks or anything. It just needs to be cleaned. And it had 1,200 hours. The listing is wrong where it says 12,000. That's off by a decimal. All right, here we are. Ritchie Brothers yard. I just got loaded up with some tank rollers that I'm grabbing for my work too. I'm putting on the same trailer. So luckily I didn't have to wait hardly at all for that. Got thrown on the trailer right away for me. And now we're just gonna spin around and go grab my excavator. Had a peek as I drove by before. It's all ready. Looks good, lots of space to load it up. So let's go check it out. All right, well, here she is. John Deere 27D, just like I left it. And so like I said, it's looks a little rough around the edges, but I think it's actually going to be a really nice machine. We'll get some new tracks on it, give it a really good clean, maybe a little paint here and there. We got the bucket teeth fixed up. And there's a few other little things. We'll figure all that out when we get it home. For now, I just want to get it loaded up and see if I can catch my ferry home this afternoon. All right, let's see if she starts again or if I'm gonna have to get a battery and jump it. Oh, started up right away, that's good. It's a good start. I'm going to slide this forward or towards myself. So I can get the bucket. Well, I already broke it. Whoops. Those little aluminum welds looked like they were just ready to go. All right, well, it took a while, but here we are, all loaded up. Got it worked out. Got some chain binders. I'm not going to catch the ferry I had booked, but hopefully I can make a reservation for a later one. I think I'll be an hour or two late. I still got to go get tracks on the way back and a few other parts. So. Well, I'm back on the island and almost home. It's been a long day. I started at about 5 and it's almost 6 now. And so 13 hours, but success. Next will just be to get home, unload it, and then take a look at some of the maintenance and cleanup that I want to do on it and put it to use. All right, so now that we're safely home with this piece of equipment, I can take a closer look at it with you, show you what I've found so far. I haven't really done anything with it, no projects or anything. I really just moved it off the trailer and over to here is just a good spot where I can clean it up a little. First thing I'm going to plan to power wash it, and then I'll get those tracks changed. But first I can show you what I've seen so far, just a couple little things, but nothing major. I'm still feeling good about the purchase, and hopefully it proves to be good for the time I'm going to keep it. So the first obvious thing with this machine, and I mentioned it before, is that the tracks are absolutely trashed, no life left in them. So I do have new ones. General shape seems to be pretty good. There's a few little scrapes and dents and stuff. I knew all that when I bought it, but nothing major, and I think I can clean it up a bit. I'm thinking a power wash will help a lot. This compartment, some of the fasteners and stuff have come loose. I think there's supposed to be threaded inserts, I believe. Most of them have come out and have been drilled through with bolts, many of which are loose, so it's kind of dangling here, but I can get all that tightened up. This bucket looks great, nice cleanup bucket. It came with a digging bucket as well, which had 2 broken teeth. The thumb, as I mentioned, I still can't get that to work. Just nothing. You push the button on the controls and nothing. I'm still hoping that it's just something silly like some kind of interlock or maybe an electrical thing is my guess. Haven't looked at that at all yet. So hopefully I can get that one fixed easy. The pins and bushings seem to be in generally good shape. Does look like there's maybe a little bit of wear on this. I noticed the stick wiggles just a tiny bit, but I don't think it's much to worry about. Certainly nowhere near as much as most of the other machines that were there at the auction. A lot of them had 3,000, 5,000 hours, and some of them, the pins were just, the stick was just absolutely dangling. Just looking inside the compartment here, the hydraulic oil, well, it's in the normal range, so that's good. At 1,200 hours, I'm not sure yet if I'm going to replace that. It'll cost a bit to do, and it's supposed to be good for 2,000 hours, so I haven't decided yet if I will. I guess I'll take a look at the oil and see what it looks like. It does have a brand new battery. That's just from a couple months ago. I'm sure they just had to get that put on for the auction and to get the machine working and running. starting to pour here. Typical rain coast here on Vancouver Island. Looking at the engine, looked pretty good in here. I had noticed before when I did that pre-auction video, just the air filter, the primary air filter was pretty dirty and the oil was pretty black. So I'm definitely going to be changing all that stuff. I've already ordered all the parts to do some good routine maintenance on this. Inside the cab is in good shape. It's not perfect, but I'm happy with it. A couple little things. It's got a cover missing there, cushion. Yeah, we got 1,267 hours. Pretty happy with that. Just a couple little fasteners and stuff missing on parts, but that's all easy to fix. And I noticed to start it up right away, even without any glow plugs, starts right away. Give it a little, there we go. I think it runs great. I didn't realize before I bought it, but there's AC in this baby, so that's a bonus. I mean, it's only hot here for really a couple months of the year, so not too important. The heat's more likely to be needed, but yeah, seems to run really well. I'm not totally sure yet. I don't have enough experience to know. The controls, the joysticks, it feels like there's a little bit of slop, like you kind of move them a little bit before you get the response from the hydraulics on both. Maybe it's just the bolts are loose and it's got a bit more slop in it. So I'll look into that. I don't think I ever said what I paid, which was $24,500. That was the hammer price, and around 28.5 after tax and fees, buyer's fees and all that stuff. So that's what I'm in for, Canadian, and I think it's pretty good value. It's definitely worth a bit more after I clean it up. But even if I just use it for a few months and can just get my money back for what I paid, I'd be really happy with that. So with that being said, I'm gonna first get these tracks lifted up, probably pull a track off and see if I can get the new one on. And then clean it up. It'll be a lot easier to power wash the undercarriage too with the track off. Man, yeah, take a look at this track. It really is on tight. I can barely even move this on the bottom with my foot a bit, but I mean, it's just slapping right back up into place. It is tight. See if we can get this tension loosened off. Oh yeah, there she goes. That's better. Not bad. All right, there she is. Not too bad at all. I'm gonna go grab the power washer.
Here's my new tracks that I got. They're Fortis HD brand, aftermarket, and 1,900 bucks. I feel like it was a pretty good deal. It was going to be almost 2,200 bucks from the dealer, and they were aftermarket ITR anyway. All right, let's have a look at these tracks. Looks pretty good. The difference here between the new and old is pretty remarkable. I should mention I was advised to check all the idlers while the track was off, which I did. They all seem fine. Now's the time to replace them if need be, but they're all good. Nothing's loose or broken or squeaky or anything, so I'm just going to carry on with what we have. These tracks are heavy. I can't remember if it was 300 pounds each or if it's 300 pounds for the pair. Either way, they're really heavy. It wouldn't surprise me if this is 300 pounds. Just need to try and get it seated into the sprocket here, and it'll give me some more length to work with at the other end. I think if I lower the machine, it'll help a bit. Maybe a little further. Let's try that. Almost there. I'm gonna lower it a bit more. Oh yeah, that's better. That's what we needed. I think I got the slack I need to get this on now. Almost got her. All right, I think we got her. Good. All right. Now we just got to get the right tension on it. All right, so let's get this bleed port closed up, tightened up, and then we'll add grease to tighten the track to tension. I'm gonna rotate the track a little as we go. All right, and the spec calls for about a ½ inch of clearance between the rolling surface of the idler and the top of these ridges on the track here. So Looks like we're still about 3 inches or so. Got a ways to go. All right. Say we're about 1.5 inches. It's probably 1 inch. All right, I'm going to stop there. That's about a 1/2 inch for sure. We'll check it in after a little bit of use, because I have no doubt it'll stretch a little. I'd say that's good for now. So I did get both tracks on. I went ahead and did the other side. Worked out just the same, wasn't too difficult or anything. And I never did a walk around after doing all that power washing. It does look a lot better. I'm pretty happy with it. So I got some spots I'll touch up the paint. There's a bit of a dent there on that side panel I think I can knock out. But otherwise, I think it cleaned up really nicely. So I started taking apart the joystick, because I'm going to look at the wiring in there. So I'm going to keep going with that. I just took the first bolts off here under the boot. And I think I got to take some of the bolts on the plastic here apart, the screws. I got some connections to check here, and that's where I'll start and see where I get with this here. I took a photo of all the colors of the wires coming out of connecting to all these auxiliary features, and then put the joystick back together, because there's no break in the wire loom. It goes all the way down into here. So I'm going to take this top cap off, and then hopefully there's a connector, and then I can do some continuity tests, mainly on the switch for the thumb. This is supposed to be a horn, which also doesn't work. And then on the trigger underneath, there's that would be like if you had a jackhammer or something. So for now, I'm just gonna have a look at this this here and see if I can possibly tighten that, because you see this little bit of slop. And it turns out you can easily adjust, make some adjustments to these threaded sections here and lower this plate and take away the slop there. So I have, and it's way better. So totally firm, no play. And then you can see the other one, I'll have to get to that, but it's all over the place. So just I guess after 1,200 hours of use, it's worn in a bit. But yeah, that's an easy adjustment and makes the controls way nicer. After tracing the wires down from the thumb controls and the joystick down further into the body of this, I guess, joystick pilot control sort of bulkhead, I did finally actually find the problem. So I'm happy about that, because I now know what I need to fix. Look, you can see the wires right there that are they've been chewed through. I may have to take quite a bit apart to be able to get down in there and actually make that repair, but at least I know what needs to happen now. So luckily I was able to cut apart the cable ties holding these looms together, and was able to fish this out, break the connector, and actually fish this out backwards, and that's a really good amount of length to work with there. So I should easily be able to make that repair, and I'm going to wager that the thumb will work once that's together. I may even test it. I could put some voltage on the right terminals on here and just test it with some jumpers before making the repair. I've got my jumper here, which I can hook up to accessory, and then I'll put it onto one of those pins. Got a little nail in there to get in that small pins. So There you go. Thumbs down, and I'll do it the other way. Thumb up. So I know it all works perfectly. Just once I hook these wires back up. So yeah, I just got to do some tinkering with these wiring, which sucks. Everybody hates wiring, but I'll solder those connections or crimp them or whatever I just got to do to get this done, and then we should be good. But the only other thing that I noticed that's a pain is once I got that thumb down, I noticed right away that the cylinder is clearly, or the rod is clearly bent. So I'm working on splicing these wires together, the ones that were broken. Just going to do a bit of soldering, and hopefully I can get this back together fairly quickly. So that should be it fixed for the thumb, and these other two wires actually are for the horn, and I had tested them before. I'll make those connections, and then we should have the horn, and then everything in the joystick here, all those controls should be repaired and working. All right, so let's turn this on and test it out. Look at that. This is with the joystick, and horn works. We're back in business. Now I can direct my attention to what I discovered. Once I got the thumb working, you can see that cylinder is definitely a little bent. It's not bent enough that it interferes with the operation, but I do maybe want to take this out and see if I can fix it in a press. But first, and more importantly, I want to check the pressure relief setting on that. You know, it probably got bent in the first place by having too high of a pressure, and if you push on the thumb with the bucket, you can bend that cylinder. I think that's a pretty common failure. So I'm going to check that. I've got a El Cheapo test kit from Amazon, 50 bucks, the cheapest one I could find, and if it works, I'll be happy. I went to the hydraulic shop today and got the adapters I needed onto my hose here, right here with the new connection, and then I can connect that onto the extension and gauge that came with my cheapo Amazon kit. So that should all work. So we can get this hooked on here to the thumb and run the circuit, and I should be able to read this from the cab. Test rig all set up here. Adapter set up on the hose, and going to the gauge that I've just got sitting there. So I'm going to try thumb and see. Yeah, it looks like that's about 2600 psi. Which is all right, but I think I'm going to lower that down to about 1800 just to eliminate what should be any chance of bending the rod by curling the bucket into it. So this valve spool is so hard to access anything. It's just stuffed under the cab here. And man, I think on bigger machines, it's on the side of the machine with a lot better access. Under here, it is just so cramped. there's a bunch of the valve adjusting spools, or whatever you call them. Of course, the one I need is on the back where it's almost impossible to reach. You can see my wrench on there. I finally got it on. There's no way to move. These hoses are all so stiff. You can't move anything. So I don't know what I'm going to do. And then to top it off, I have to get an Allen key on the back behind there. And of course, no Allen key that I have actually fits. So I had to grind one down in my bench grinder, custom, to make it fit. Finally, I got it in. So I don't think I'm going to be able to film this, and this is a nightmare. Hopefully this is the right spool. So believe it or not, I did actually manage to get that wrench on there and turn that loosening nut and get my Allen key on the adjuster for the spool. Actually in just a couple minutes it took, so that worked out. And let's give it a try here. So it has gone down about 100 psi. I'll have to change it more and see if that goes down a bit further. I had to modify the Allen key even further, so it's now this long, and that should help me clear the hoses. And you can see the other end, yeah, if I can get it in focus. I had to grind that down to get it to fit. It works okay now. That's the Allen key on the spool in there. Can you see that? Oh my God. And yeah, there. I am able to turn it a little bit, so let's try that. See if that did anything. Perfect. So it's like, what's that, 2,000, maybe 2,100? I'm happy with that. I'm not gonna fiddle with it anymore. I think that'll be a lot better and protect the cylinder rod. And I just gotta lift the cab again so I can tighten the jam nut on that spool and hope it doesn't move on me. And then I can move on to the next thing, which is straightening that cylinder rod if I can, and everything else that I got to do, maintenance on the machine, and a little bit of paint, and then the bucket teeth, and then we should be good to go. So here I am set up just before I put it in the press to try and show the bend that's in that cylinder, or in the rod. So it looks like it's probably about 1/8 of an inch out. Let's see if that did anything. Now we're gonna have to go more. Well, that didn't work. God. So I'm back at home at my bench with this now, and taking a closer look, I can see, I thought originally it was cast material and was angry about it, but I've learned a bit more, and I think it's 1045 steel, induction hardened chrome plated, and that's what that ring around the outside is. That's the induction hardening zone. This material is also known to be quite brittle after the induction hardening, and I think it looks cast, but I think that's just how that alloy of steel just fractured when it was being bent. So I'm trying to get replacement material for this. I'm just going to build my own. In order to open up these cylinders, you actually have to have it's called a backup ring that comes with the seal kit. So I've got that now, and I can try and take this apart, get this end of the rod out, and see what we're working with. The next thing is to push this cylinder end into the cylinder. Here's my seal kit. It's just for the bore, so it's only half the seals for the cylinder, but it's got that orange backup ring in, which is what we need. Okay, it took a bit of fiddling, but I got her in. Right about there, you can see the seam that I finally got to snap in with no overlap. I'm going to try this, just vice grips on the end. Obviously, I don't care about the chrome finish on this piece, so we can give it a try. Oh, maybe it has. Hey, we've got it out, so. So we've got our piston. Looks like a bolt, I guess, on the end. And this is the cylinder head. So I managed to get that off by grinding some sides flat here and putting it in a vise. I just don't have this at home, so I couldn't do that. There we go, pistons off. I should be able to get the head off there. Excellent. So my plan here is to remake this broken rod. Luckily, I was able to pick up a piece of 25mm IHCP rod from the local hydraulic shop. They just by fluke happened to have something perfect for me for $100, which is a lot better than the 800 that John Deere wanted for this replacement assembly for the rod. So I'll have to cut this off and re-weld it onto the new rod, maybe with a pin or thread so that threads on to hold it straight while welding. And then the other end, I just need to machine female threads for the piston bolt, and should be pretty straightforward. At least that's what I'm thinking. So I'm gonna have at her. And then the last thing here would just be to, of course, test if the bolt threads in nicely, which it does. So that's, other than the chamfer, that's this end of the piston rod done. All right, so I'm just gonna knock that chamfer off, and then I'm done with this end. So that's the piston end done. I'm happy with how that all worked out in the end. Drilled, tapped, chamfered, and ready to take a look at the other end. So my next step is going to be to make what I need for this end of the shaft. Cut this off here and save this knuckle, or whatever it's called. When I do it, I'm going to leave a bit of a stub on here, so then when I weld it on, it will be like a socket that'll hold it straight. Okay, so that should be the hardened layer off. All right, there we go. So a little bit to clean up on the end there. I can just sand that off and I'll be good. There we go, all cleaned up. So that will plug into a hole that I'll make on the new rod, and then hopefully it should hold that stable and in the right position for welding. So now it's time to work on the other end of the rod. This will be the point of no going back. I'm going to cut this stock material to length based on the measurements I took before. So first I'm going to part it off, and then we'll drill a hole for that socket. Now we're through the hardened layer. So I'll just test the fit here. And actually it's looking like a perfect, it's nice and tight. I'll just be able to tap that in, maybe a little bit of a press fit. That's perfect. That's gonna hold it tight and straight. So I'm happy with that. So I'll just pop this off, and I'll put a little bit of a chamfer on the end here, and then I think we're ready for welding. I don't think the chamfer is quite steep enough, so I'm just going to go a little steeper. Okay, that looks better. Yeah, so I think we're done. We're ready for welding. So here we have the final fit up. A little bit of an interference fit. I'll be able to knock that in. Planning to have 1/8 of an inch down at the root, and then we'll fill that in with some wire feed. So I'm going to weld this at home now. I got this just tapped in there with the hammer, so that's set. The length is confirmed the same as before. I've got my little turntable here. I don't have a fancier setup, so this should work great. And I'm just going to weld it with my wire feed welder. Got a Millermatic 200. I love this thing. It's just a workhorse. Awesome. And just regular mild steel wire, just ER70 S6. So I'll preheat it with the propane torch just a little, burn off some of the moisture and oil. I wire wheeled back the paint a little bit on the knuckle, and I'm also going to protect the chrome here with some paper taped around there. The paper will also help us know if we're getting things too hot. Here's how the welds turned out. Not too bad. Not the greatest either, but considering I don't have a turntable and I'm trying to do it on my hands and knees in my garage, I'm pretty happy with it. I may take it back to the lathe and turn it off nice, but at the same time, it doesn't really matter. Once I touch this up a little bit and get some paint on it, I think it's going to look pretty good. Here it is now that I hit it with a wire brush and I filed off some of the slag, and it's quite a lot better now. So honestly, yeah, it'd be better if I turned it off in the lathe to just clean it up, but what's the point? I think this looks great. Here's the final result after a coat of paint. I'm really happy with that. I think it looks great. So now it's just time to get the cylinder put back together. So I got the cylinder head on here. It's a pretty tight fit. I had to use some oil and stuff, but it does seem to slide up and down okay. I'm sure with hydraulic force it's going to be nothing. So next is the piston. We'll get that on there, and then the stock bolt, 5/8 fine thread with some red Loctite. And then we're going to do that up with a torque wrench to 180 foot-pounds, which is just a generic spec for a grade 5 5/8 fine thread bolt. I think that'll be plenty, but we do not want this bolt coming loose with the cylinder assembled. Time to get new seals on, and then we'll get the rod with the head and piston back into the cylinder. Just gonna make sure this stuff's got some hydraulic oil on it. All of it. Oh. Okay, I got it past the first. Oh, there we go. There we go. So last step is to just get this back on the machine and confirm it all works. So I got the hoses on, put a little oil in the cylinder just to help it bleed out better, and I'm ready to put it on the machine here. So I'll get set up and try and get this mounted, and then we'll test it out. All right, there we go, pins are in. So far so good. I just gotta get these hoses hooked up. There we go. Okay, there we go. So, and then there's a clip I got to put on here. This bracket for the hose here has clearly been hit in the past and it's bent up. I tried bending it straight and it's just way too hard with this line connected. So I'm going to pop that off and then see if I can bend everything straight. The problem is that it makes the hose stick out way far away from the machine because it's crooked there. So I'll see if I can do that without too much trouble. I don't want to make it too big of a thing, so I'll quit if it's not working. So I made sure to relieve this side of the circuit. So this line should not be under pressure, but I'd still expect some oil to leak out of here. So got it. Pop that off. Pretty straight. It's very crooked before, so that should help the hose stay close to the machine. But now I'm gonna have to bend this because that's cocked off quite far. It actually, this shows you pretty well how far it was off. All right, I think I know how I'm gonna do this. I gotta have this threaded on here, block of wood behind here, and then I can just push on this and bend it back, basically just the reverse of what happened in the first place. Okay. All right, so piece of wood under here. And here's where I gotta push. I don't think I'm gonna have the strength here. Okay, we'll see if this works. I got a clamp around it. I don't know. I'm not too sure, but it's worth a try. Definitely a lot closer. That might be far enough that I can just get it on. That's where I got her on. Still tipped a little down, but whatever. It's the left to right that matters more. And that's now nice and straight. So my hoses should stay tight to the machine. Just got to get this hose clamp back on. All right. So I think we're just about ready to test out the thumb. So that looks awesome. I think we're fixed. We're finally done with this thumb. One of the things that I've been meaning to get to is painting a little bit, just touch-ups. You can see with the boom and the stick here, there's quite a lot of pink, I guess, primer showing through. A lot of it actually got exposed when I power washed. Paint just flaked off, and I just like to touch that up. I think it'll make things look a lot sharper. I'm not trying to repaint the machine by any means, but just some quick spray bomb in a few spots here I think will make a big difference. So I'm going to start with the stick and see how that goes. I've got the Hitachi John Deere dark gray. In order to do some of this touch-up painting, I think what I'm going to try is actually taking these panels off. The ones that'll pop off easily, I think it's just going to be a lot faster to take them to a bench and paint them that way rather than trying to do it on the machine. So we'll see how that works. Okay, so taped off the stickers, and I'm going to try putting a little paint on here. Nothing perfect, but it should be an improvement. I think this turned out pretty good, but let's have a look. Well, it ain't perfect, but it looks pretty awesome compared to before for not much effort, so I'm pretty happy. Looks like sanding won't take the letters off, but a chisel does. acetone. Well, I'm partway through the yellow painting. I'm waiting for some pieces to dry, so I'm going to change the oil. I'm going to use just Rotella T4 conventional oil. I don't think there's any need to use synthetic. It's an all mechanical diesel, and I'm not in a cold climate, so I'm just going to go with that. This is so cool. Just as I was thinking it's going to make a huge mess when I pull off the oil filter off the side here, I notice it's got a catcher and a hose that goes down beneath so it'll catch in my drain pan. I'm just going to remove this panel because I have to anyways for painting, and it'll make it a lot easier to get the oil in. There'll be a lot more clearance for the funnel. I'm going to use just a piece of tube here. I think it'll make this a lot easier. Here's my new oil filter, Wix 51334. It's just an equivalent. I can't remember how much it takes. It's more than I thought. Okay, I looked it up. It's supposed to be 7.2 liters, so I feel like I should be getting close. That should be a little less than a third of this bucket. Still nothing on the dipstick though. Okay, let's check the dipstick. Just about at the top. So I'll put a little bit more in and I'll run it and then see where we're at. Still good. Perfect. So next we'll look at the fuel filter. Got to change that, and the hydraulic filters as well. This last panel is actually the one I was looking forward to working on the most, because it's got the most damage and it'll have the biggest improvement from painting and fixing up. There's a big dent here that I can pop out, a bit of another one here, lots of rusty spots, lots of primer sticking through, scrapes, and so it'll clean up nicely, I'm sure, and make a big difference. Here's a better view. You can really see the size of that dent, so I'm going to use a hammer and dolly and try and get that out. And there's some other smaller ones too. So I got all those panels painted and I'm really happy with the results. It really wasn't very hard at all. They all pop off so easily, pretty easy to paint, and the thing looks brand new. So that was well worth the effort. This panel here, the big one, was by far the worst. It was dented and a lot of rust and paint scratched off. Just here's that big dent. It's far from perfect. You can see it's wavy where I was hammering it, but there's no point in putting Bondo or anything and body filler to make that nice. It's an excavator, not a classic car. So, and then this stuff here, like this forging holding the boom, I'm not going to paint any of that. I think it'll actually just look better. If I just leave it, it'll be too much effort to try and tape that all off properly. So I don't want it to look like a gray market machine that's completely covered in new paint. So I'm really happy with this. So next I'm going to take a look at some maintenance here. Just changing the fuel filters. There's two. There's a main filter here and then this guy here. Okay, and again, the John Deere ones were expensive, but this Wix 33399 was an equivalent. Oh, actually it's 533399. You just got to do some research and figure out what you want. It takes a little bit, but it's worth it. I saved a couple $100, I think, by getting all this stuff off Rock Auto. Okay, now this other one. This one I had to get the John Deere part. It's a bit of a screen filter there. Yeah, that stuff is, that's really dirty. All right, well, it's off camera there, but there was some straight up sludge and dirt in the bottom of this that I just poured into my container there. So look at the color, and yeah, we don't want that going in the engine, so it's definitely doing its job. Unfortunately, it looks like I forgot this ring. So I'm going to have to go back in and put this in, and I believe it's to indicate the level there. So I'm realizing now it's, I'm guessing it's to indicate if there's water in the bottom of the bowl, because it'll float in water, but not in fuel. That would make a lot of sense, and that's why it's sunk now. And actually, I think at the beginning of the video, if I recall correctly, it was floating, so there was definitely water in the bowl. While I'm here, I'm just gonna do the air filters too. So I got the outer filter is a Wix, and the inner filter is a Wix as well. And I had popped this off before I bought the machine and noticed it was very dirty. For a second there, I thought it wasn't going to fit. I think we just got to do the hydraulic filters, and then that's it for maintenance. So next I'm going to do the hydraulic oil filter. Got this guy from Baldwin. The machine's cool. I haven't run it today. Okay, there we go. So the new one's quite a bit bigger, but this is the size that I was expecting even for OEM. So I guess I'm not really sure what's happening with this little guy here. All right, so I'm starting to think that it's actually this cover back here has actually got the hydraulic filter I'm looking for, which would be on the return. And then I guess the supply, that filter that I took out is just for the supply. So I got to get this part of the hood off, I think, to access that. So we'll figure this out and move on. All right, so I'm guessing it's actually just this little thing is an access panel. That's looking promising. All right, this is looking more like I was expecting. Okay, here we go. We'll get the spring back on top. Excellent. That was easy. The instructions say to run the machine for several minutes without actuating any cylinders, just idle for a while, just to make sure all the air gets out of the hydraulic pump before you try and use any cylinders. That small filter that I took out first, the one that was incorrect, is called the cleaning suction screen. And yeah, so it goes on the bottom of the tank at the suction, and it's not a lifetime part. It's supposed to be 2,000 hours or whenever the hydraulic fluid is changed. I'm at 1,200 hours, so still on original fluid, I'm assuming, and not changing it now. The hydraulic filter I removed, you see has a date on it, July 2013. The machine's a 2011, so I'm going to presume that they changed it once at 500 hours like you're supposed to, and then hasn't been changed since. So we're at 1,200 hours now, almost 1,300 hours, and it's 2024, so that filter could have been in there for 10 years. All right, so the pilot filter is for the hydraulics is one of the last maintenance items I got to do, so that's accessed in here, I believe. And there's a panel underneath that I got to take off too, but I think this will give us a better view. All right, so there's the pilot filter in there, and I'll have to take off this bottom access panel. So I actually swung the machine around, so the filter is now over the back between the tracks, and I can get a oil pan under easily. Before, the tracks were just way too in the way. And the bolt on the bottom here, to loosen this, it was actually very hard to turn, to the point that I was almost bending the housing rather than it loosening, but eventually got it. I have no idea how much oil is going to gush out of this thing. Well, it doesn't seem to be under pressure. That's good. Here's the replacement filter. Found a Baldwin equivalent. And it comes with the O-ring, which is nice. So I'll pop that off. Let's get some oil on there. Put that guy back in there. New O-ring. And back. So that's an easy one. Good. So I'll just put the panels back on and then that's done. So I'm finally getting around to doing the bucket pins here, and I'm just going to raise the boom so I can access the bucket a lot nicer. So you can see the new teeth here. They're cheap, they're like $6, and they've got a roll pin through them. So I just got to hammer out the old roll pins and pop the new ones in. I'm hoping this will be quick. You never know with these things though, it can always be more than you think it's going to be. Man, wow, so not easy. All right, I'm going to need a different plan. Got some pliers so I can really go for it. Okay, I think that's starting to work. No, maybe not. Man, okay. I'm going to try drilling out the center. Okay, finally almost got it. Holy. All right, one down, one to go. So immediately upon getting the teeth off, I noticed that I've got a big problem here with these guys. Clearly someone's been using the bucket for a long time without the teeth and just worn that right down, and now there's not enough material to support the tooth properly. If I put a new one on there, it's clearly just going to break off again or shear the pin. So I think, unfortunately, I'm looking at getting a couple of these guys and I'll have to cut them off and re-weld them on. They're cheap, but it's going to be a bit of work and kind of a pain, but hopefully not too big of a deal. So that's next. So I'm going to get ready to cut these off, but before I do, I'm just going to take a couple of measurements to help get the new ones back on. So all cleaned up here, both sides. Next will be to drop the bucket, and I'll take it over to the garage and weld on the new bucket teeth adapters. So I got my new bucket teeth and took the paint off where I need to for welding and marked the center line. I took some measurements from the hole spacing before I cut the old ones off, so I'll get them lined up, tack them on, and then we'll weld them out. So that's what it looks like after one pass, and I think I'm going to go ahead and do a second here. Well, it's definitely not perfect, but I'm pretty happy with that. It ain't going anywhere. So that'll work for me. Now I just got to flip it over and weld the back sides there. All right, it's starting to get dark, but you can see that okay, I think. So that's all the welding done. I'll get the bucket back on the machine and then we can hammer the teeth in, and then this should be good. Oh, and I'll put a little coat of paint over these areas, and then that should be the bucket done. So I'm ready now to put these teeth on finally. So we got the roll pin, they're new, and teeth. And I think this is going to be a pretty simple process. Just get that started with a small hammer, and then I'll finish it, I think, with the bigger one. Easy. I just noticed I wasn't paying attention and put this one on upside down, so gotta fix that. Okay, now I think we're done for real. So it's taken me so long to edit this video that it's winter now. We got a little dump of snow here, and it's about -2 Celsius. So I thought it'd be fun to just check it out and see how it starts in the cold. Just give it a bit of glow plugs. Pretty good. Turned over like once before starting, so that's really good. Well, that was pretty uneventful, but I'm happy. That's great. So now that I've pretty much done all the maintenance and repairs I want to on the machine, time to use it, finally. It's next year through the winter and back into the next spring. It sat for most of the winter, didn't really get used at all. I've got this area here that's just all ivy and brambles, which I don't like, so I think I'm going to go to task on it. There is a couple of big stumps in the middle of this mound here, which I may try and dig out and kind of level the area. I'm not sure if I'll be able to get the stumps out without breaking up this arbutus tree, which I don't really want to lose. So I'll start by scraping off all of the foliage here and then just kind of see where I get with that. But at the very least, even just getting rid of all the brambles and ivy, which I hate, will be nice. So it turned out that the stumps in there were so rotten that it really wasn't an issue. They were just rotten and came apart like nothing, which was easy. And I think I'm gonna level this area off and just have a grass area here. Is probably the best thing I can do with this space. Well, I'm pretty pleased with how that turned out. That did not take long at all. And this whole area is just nice, level, cleared out. The stumps weren't an issue. And I'll be able to just lay down some topsoil and plant some grass here and have a bit more space and light back here. So I'm really happy with that. Well, I think that pretty much does it for this video. Having used the machine a little bit, I can say I'm really happy with it. I think it was a really good purchase. Had a few things that I worked through in this video, but nothing major. And I think it's a really good machine with low hours. Really happy that I bought it. And I hope to use it for maybe a year or two, or who knows, longer. And then I think there's a really good chance I can get my money back for it. I don't think I'll be able to make a profit necessarily, but I think I can certainly get my investment back when I'm done with it. Thanks for watching.